this we you're talking about? Yes, hello everybody. SpeedCon is back on site, and with it, I return with fantastic games. Honestly, it's just start, whatever count, I don't care. Yes, so I'm showing off the 120 cards category, which first of all starts with entering a lot of cheats, which honestly stopped me. Like, you are powerless. No, so the incentive, as you might guess from the name of the category, is to obtain all of the 120 trading cards in this game. Tapioca, that's the thing. I know exactly why I wrote down all these things. There we go.
Did you also get something about visions?
I think
I think you had vanilla twice.
Did I?
I think so.
Well, let's maybe check
Just,
that. Maybe that's. I think you're right, actually.
Yeah, for once.
So which one was that?
Visions.
Right? Yeah, Visions. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just his secretary. Don't mind me. It's okay.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
Anyways,
Cool. So, yeah, regarding entering cheats, so, as I said, the objective is to get all 120 cards in this game, no matter how. And 2 of those cards are locked away behind cheats. There's no other way to obtain them other than enter these 2 particular cheat codes. Which, I mean, that's an interesting choice for game design. Then again, that's not the only interesting choice for game design, but we have plenty of time to discuss and, well, in a way, explore this, let's call it game together. With me, I have a fellow member of the Spyro Fusion community, which is Kataref. Feel free to introduce yourself. Hello.
Yeah, I speedrun 2 ILs, individual levels of this game, for like 5 minutes, and that was
former world record holder
4 years ago. And yeah, that's about the extent of my knowledge when it comes to this game.
Right. Maybe somewhat surprisingly, just from the look of this first stage, the speedrun is relatively complex and pretty heavy on routing, skips, and even glitches. Which, of course, we'll get into that once, once it happens, once we get to it. But for now, the incentive or the way the game works is there are 5 worlds, 5 main hubs, and in each there are 5 levels, as well as some shops where you can buy or gamble for trading cards. That's like the basic concept. And each of these levels, you can in principle play 3 times. Each time the difficulty increases. And then there are these shops like right here, where in the first shop I need to buy 4 cards. Oh, that was it. Oops. There we go. And as we'll see later, there are different types of shops, but we'll get to that eventually. Now, this is the second mini game out of the 5 in this first world, and you may notice a pattern already, as in the first one was an autoscroller.
Yes.
This one is an autoscroller.
Yes.
The obvious question is, will every minigame be an autoscroller? The answer to that is luckily no. The autoscrollers are in the majority, that's true, but it could be worse. That's the thing you gotta tell yourself every time you play. It could always be worse. They could have made even worse decisions when making this game.
So one question I have is about the cards that you got via cheat codes, the exclusive ones you said.
Yeah.
Is there any, like, would you usually get those cheat codes in the game, or did you have to find out about them somehow back in the day?
It's a good question. So I'm not aware of this being disclosed in the game anywhere.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool. Maybe.
Not like I'm surprised.
So what my guess would be is that it was in some like game magazines, basically. But
okay.
Or maybe you could call the Vicarious Visions hotline back then for $3 a minute. Yeah, it's like hey guys, I'm missing all these cards. Can you help me? Or however that worked in the past. Yeah, and actually that's an interesting asymmetry between the two games. Two games being Crash Fusion and Spyro Fusion. So the fusion part in the title of the game, or the European version of the game title. This fusion aspect is not just a name, but it's actually a gimmick of these games. As in, there's Spyro Fusion, what I'm playing right now, and there's Crash Fusion. And each game has its own mini games, own cards, but there's some overlap between the cards. So in each, or there are 100 cards of each game style in a way. There are 100 Spyro cards, 100 Crash cards. But with a single cartridge, you can only get 120 cards. So just by the pigeonhole principle, like mathematically as we all know, there are at least 20 cards which I can get in both games. And actually it's 21, so I'll get 99 Spyro cards and 21 Crash cards. As I said, we'll get to the cards and how they work and all of that eventually, but for now we're just traversing the first world, getting kind of a feeling for the game.
This looks like an auto-scroll to me.
Oh yeah, it makes sense. You don't have your glasses on, so you wouldn't
True.
see properly. Yeah, it's a third one. So the ratio between autoscroller and non-autoscroller is like 60-40. However, as a small teaser already, this is not the full completionist category. There's another category called 113%, where you actually fully complete the game. So the cards are not the only objective in a way. There's also an in-game percentage counter. And for full completion, you have to, by the rules of the category, play through every minigame 3 times. Whereas in this category, as I said, all we have to have at the end are 120 cards, no matter how we got them. And actually, through the use of glitches, we'll also get to that at some point, we don't have to play every minigame 3 times. That's another interesting choice the game developers made back in the day, when they decided, well, in order to get to the 5th of the 5 main worlds, you have to play through every minigame 3 times. However, of course they don't tell you about that when the game starts, or I mean that would make too much sense, but they tell you once you have beaten the 4th boss, you're in front of some kind of barrier, if you will, where they say, where you see the message, yes, all cool, but in order to get to the last world, you have to complete every minigame 3 times. Which, you've seen the minigames, and if you're, I don't know, like a 9-year-old kid, you're playing this, and then the game tells you, yeah, that was cool, do it again, and then again. Let's say, it's maybe not the most surprising fact that the smaller percentage of players have completed this game back in the day. Actually, before CD-ROMatron originally first ran this game, like this category, the full completionist category, we were only aware of one guide on the entire internet on how to get every single card. Like, that's how terrible this usually is. Luckily, we can skip 2/3 of these minigame passes. That is the second and the third one. But everything once we get there. Right. So this is another type of shop. So you saw us enter Moneybags shop, and in the first half of this first world, it was a standard just buy cards. Like, each card is 10 gems, and just normal purchase kind of shop. In the second half of each world, the shop, oh my god, the shop is more of a gambling type of shop. So the first one here, as you see, is a spinning wheel minigame, where all we care about right now are the crash cards. So we have to land on the purple field and get all 4 cards that are obtainable in this shop right here. Actually, I want to go sure. Yeah, that's all 4. What I really want to avoid is to get to the end and be like time, and then it's like 119 cards, which has happened in the past. Although it was more frequent when I started running this game, but yeah. So this is exciting. This is not an autoscroller, by the way. Wow. Yeah, that's true. It does not scroll at all. This is a all or nothing type of game. Maybe I can. Doesn't work. Ah. Well, I have plenty of opportunities to show off this glitch I just attempted, and that didn't work. So here, that's something I haven't talked about yet, but that will become increasingly important as the run progresses, and that's those the gems that are not red. So the red gems respawn every time you get back to an area, and like every other gem, so every gem of higher value does not respawn. It's a one-time collectible, and once you have collected all the gems from like all the non-red gems, like the unique gems, you get a card. You get the world card. And that's what we'll do right now. So right now we beat Crash, and like story-wise we realize, oh, Crash is also a good guy, as if Spyro never had a PlayStation 1 and wouldn't know who Crash is. Kind of dumb, but okay. So now we unlock the double jump, which lets us get to some areas previously inaccessible. And as you see, there are a lot of gems to get here. And there are, of course, 2 aspects to the gem. First of all, as I said, they're necessary in order to get the world card, and our objective to get all cards. So there's no way around them. However, it also... Did I... Wait, what? I should have gotten the world card now. Why did I not? Can you please tell me what have I forgotten?
Yeah, let me look it up here.
That must be one there. Oh my god. I did get those 3. Oh, is it this one? No, it's not this one. Or did I get the card but skip the message too quickly? That can also happen. Oh my god. Everything's in shambles, really. Quickly do something which I'll not explain yet. We'll get to that at some point. I mean, alternatively, I could just not worry about it and then at the end wonder what I missed. But big question mark energy. This one. This one. This one. Okay, I'll just not worry about it. I'll just assume that I got the card and skip the dialogue very quickly. Yeah, so areas previously inaccessible, as you're seeing right now. There's some yellow gems here. However, there's another ability that we'll unlock after the second boss, which is the flutter. So right now you can do 2 jumps, but there's no flutter ability, as you see. So we drop straight down. However, there's one area in this first world where you, at least in theory, need the flutter. However, there's a very precise skip you can do. And the technique is, I mean, the name is kind of self-explanatory, is flame double jump, or double jump flame extension, I think is the name. So because the double jump doesn't give you enough distance, you extend it with your flame. For some reason, the flame it gives you a bit more distance and also lags the game. not sure whether the second thing is important to this trick, but the gain distance, because it slows down your fall, that one is important. And I'll get it eventually. Oh, come on. The worst part of this is that the platforms, because of this isometric kind of view, they look like I should make the jump every time, but it's actually rather precise. Oh, come on. Well, I have 85 more minutes to do this, so... Oh, that's too late. So the timing of this trick is rather particular. Of course, you also should jump as late as possible. But the point where you... Oh, this should work. The point where you flame is also quite important, unsurprisingly. If you do it too early, you take away some of the height from your previous jump. If you do it too late, you've fallen down too much and you can't make it anymore. Ah, there we go. Cool. So there's 2 more gems up there, and then we can progress to the second world, actually. It's blue. Yeah, well, that one I got. Okay, second world. Now, for the cards, I should maybe explain how the cards you get or like how you get cards from the minigame. So as I said, in theory, you have to complete every minigame 3 times in order to advance to the final world. However, as for the cards, you only get a card on the first and on the third playthrough of a level. And, well, we have to play the level once in order to unlock the portal to the next world. There's no way around that. However, try that again. Cool. However, the third pass we can skip because, for whatever reason, the cards you would get after the third playthrough of a level, so in this case, after the third playthrough of this pinball level I just played, that card you can just purchase in the shop of the next world. So in this case, the shop of the third world. You can just buy them, which, I mean, I won't complain. That's 2 times less I have to play this pinball minigame and this minigame, tank minigames. It's very convenient to know that a max % run would have to play through everything 3 times, and you can just sit back and think, less of this game. It's great.
Let capitalism take over and just buy whatever you want.
I mean, yeah, kind of. That's part capitalism, part gacha, really. After all, you have to gamble for some of them. So,
but following on from that logic, that kind of means for the last world you still need to play every minigame 3 times, since there is no shop you can buy them from in the next world? Okay.
That's true, actually, yeah. At some point we had the theory, like when this this category first emerged and the limbo warp glitch, which I'll talk about at some point, that that maybe after you complete the 5th world, then in the shop of the first world, these cards appear, but that's not the case. That I mean, I guess that would be too advanced for this game. So, yeah, sadly, those we have to play 3 times. However, I guess that's somewhat lucky that the minigames in the last and the 5th and final world are pretty quick ones. There are none of these, well, not none, but the auto-scrollers there are the less boring ones. And there are not 3, but only 2 auto-scrollers, so... As I said, it could always be worse. That's the final straw. yes, so this is probably the slowest of all the auto-scrollers. Arguably, it's a tie between this one and the tank minigame. However, the tank minigame is, for some reason, way more boring. I don't know why, it's just the kind of vibe this minigame here is giving off.
But I guess these kinds are a bit more difficult since you can't see half of the screen and where you're going if you switch, like flip between the sides. So you kind of need to memorize more of it, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. So for this incarnation, you don't have to memorize the level at all, but for the one in level 5, especially for the second and third pass where the minigame gets more difficult, there's basically no way around memorizing the level. There are also some funny anecdotes regarding the level 5, like magnet suit level, but as I said, we'll get to that. No need. We have plenty of time. There's no need to hurry regarding anything here. So, yeah, as you see, this minigame, much like every minigame in this video game here, is very simple. The controls in this minigame here in particular boil down to moving, flipping, not gravity, flipping, like magnetism, and shooting if you collected a rocket. Maybe the reason this one's more interesting is that there is actually some tech to this. So, especially in the World 5 version of this, there are some despawn strats where you can use that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Where you can use that. You can flip midair, so you it's not that you can only flip when you touch the ground, but after some cooldown you could also flip midair in theory. And doing that, you can control what's on screen and like things. You can prevent things from spawning and stuff like that. So, yeah, here we are back to capitalism, as Caddy so nicely put it. And oh damn, there's also some. As you can see, some random element to this. That is which cards are displayed. So there's a fixed set of cards that are associated with this shop, but only 3 of them are displayed at a time, which can lead to you having purchased 8 of the 9 cards already, and you're skipping through just like now, but for a minute, literally 1 minute, and yeah, there it is. And you think, it's 9 cards. I only purchased 8. Like, can I not count? But no, it's just the game which is mocking your existence, basically. Honestly, that's the way I would put it. That's not good. Speaking of capitalism, oh my god. Yes, I made it. Speaking of capitalism, you may have noticed that that there were some gems in the overworld, like non-red ones. There was a green one, a purple one, but I didn't collect them, and I actually will not collect them because the world card for the second half of the second world, which I'm in right now, is the only of the world cards you can purchase in a shop. In the shop of World 4, you can't just buy the card you would get from the gems. Nobody knows why, whether that's intentional or on accident. It also resulted in a lot of confusion when people first ran this game and figured out things. And one run they had to buy 8 cards in the shop, and then the other run it was 9, and nobody understood why. And it was because, well, on some routes we collected the gems here, and then some we didn't. So yeah, I think the way I would put it is that this game offers a lot of mysteries in the truest sense, as in nobody other than the 3 people who worked on this game back in 2004 know what's going on. Also, I was stuck in the wall there. That wall has no collision. That's no glitch or anything. They just forgot to model collision there in that particular spot. So that's interesting. What's your opinion on the music, by the way? It seemed like you're jamming back there.
You see that absolutely correctly, yes.
Oh, yeah.
while I'm going over these very detailed notes you gave me. Have to be sure that I am up to speed later on.
Do we maybe have time for some quick messages?
Yeah,
Also some long ones.
if you make it really quick. Yeah, no, sure. Please go ahead.
All right, I just want to talk about Save the Children again, because as you might know, we are raising money for them, and with $1, they can already provide 4 children with treatment against pneumonia. I'm sorry, that is a hard word, which is a life-threatening illness. And yeah, so $1 can help 4 children, and yeah, you can donate them with the link in chat, !donate. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, I wasn't focusing on meshing, but totally listened to what you said, and no, I agree. It's a great cause. Absolute support on the on the viewers to donate to this fantastic cause. So you may. That's not how this is supposed to go. Let's try again. There we go. Oh my god. There we go. I have a brain. Yeah, what I wanted to say is that
Glad that's established.
is that you may have noticed that last minigame, the one where the mashing had to freeze the Rip Talk, I did that one 3 times, although I don't have to. However, that one is so quick that it's... I mean, it would be worth in TAS to just do it once and buy the card later on. However, we also have the restriction of gems, so we do need the money, and for every pass you get an increasing amount of gems. So for the first pass you get 10, then the second one 20, and the third one is 30, and that's where it stays. 30, that's where it caps. Also, that hit was on purpose, but of course he memed on my existence, so that's cool. Come on. And 3. Yeah, sometimes he can just ignore that you flame him. He's like, nah, don't feel like it. See, anyway, that was Crush and Gulp. And now we do have the Flutter ability, which, if we wouldn't have done the skip, we at some point would have to backtrack the first world and collect all the gems there. But as I said, mostly because of the gem requirement that we need a lot of gems to just buy cards at some point. It's not only a time save to get these gems early with the skip I explained, but also is advantageous in terms of routing. You can just buy more things earlier. However, I should maybe stress that the cards do not offer you any advantage. You just have them. But it's not such that like every 20 cards you get a Kunu ability or anything. The only thing you can do with them is trade them with your friends, which I'm sure that was a great thing to do for 9-year-olds. Hey, I have this great trading card in this game. Do you want to play with me? Question mark. Okay,
Don't forget that you needed the GBA link trade thingy, right? You needed to hook up to GBAs.
Yeah, exactly. Which always works perfectly from my experience. Cool. So the only big bottleneck in terms of gems is right here. So I have 338. I need 335 plus minus, so I'm pretty much on par for what I need, because I have to, on the one hand, buy 9 cards here, and on the other hand, I have to pay for the next minigame to unlock, and that together is like 340, but there are some gems I can collect here, so I need 30 for the next one. That's basically perfect. Usually, if the run would have gone not perfectly, but better, let's put it like that, then I would have 80 gems at this point and not 2 as I just had. But as I said, that's the only big bottleneck, as I put it. So after this one, there's no like gem cap or anything I have to be on the lookout for. I can just play the game and not worry about gems too much. Because the next shop, the one in World 4, we only get on the backtrack, because for now it would be too expensive. Like, there's no way to purchase things now. Okay. Then at this point it may be a good time to talk about some of the movement tech. So not as in literal movement, like what is jumping, what is fluttering. I think that's very intuitive and also well known. What I want to talk about is some of the tech in order to warp. So for example here, I went back to the menu, went back in, and the game put me back at to the last checkpoint. So the last checkpoint was the last level I played. Then there are also, so that's called a light menu warp, although it's not really a warp, you just respawn at a checkpoint. But there is actually a menu warp, as the name may suggest, which I've done multiple times already. And then there's also the, oh my, why, this should not happen. Seems like I'm mashing too slowly. Weird. Yes, so there's the light menu warp, there's the menu warp, and then there's the limbo warp. The menu warp, as I just explained, just the last checkpoint. Then the menu warp, that happens whenever you go back to the main menu of the game. So the one where you have all the like save files listed, save games listed. And if you go back to that menu, then enter your game again, you respawn at the beginning of the world you last left off. So in this case, if I were to menu warp right now for whatever reason, I would respawn back at the start of the second half of the third world, which I'm in right now. So those are both maybe not intended mechanics, but they are not no glitchy mechanics. That's just how the game operates. The yes, that's correct. The limbo warp, however, that one is a glitch, very much so, and it's one that has revolutionized this game, this category, but the game in general. What it allows us to do, I'll go into detail about how it works and why it works, but what it allows us to do basically is go from any point within one world to any other point within one world. So I've used it some times in the run already in order to teleport to the final portal of the world, which advances you to the next world. But in principle, you can use it to warp anywhere, to any checkpoint, like any shop, any level, anything you please. That one, of course, has some implications. A lot of minor implications, such as routing optimization, skipping some mini-games which are not locked away behind portals, but are just in the overworld. So between the first and the second half of each world, there are like small challenges, such as mash B to melt this ice, or mash A to open the gate to advance. And those you can skip, you just warp right past them. Those are the small things. The big thing, that's what we'll or that's the reason that we can skip playing all of the minigames 3 times. I think I'll only explain that once we get there, because then it makes a lot more sense then. Like right now it's just a little cool thing we can do here that saves us a few seconds so we don't have to walk from A to B. So this right here is Nina, that's a character from the Crash universe, and this is well, depending on whether you count the first boss fight where Spyro went up against Crash, depending on whether you count that or not, this is the first co-op boss fight in a way, in the sense that in the Spyro game you play the first half of this boss fight, that is you free the characters, Coco and the Professor, and escape, and then in Crash Fusion you play the second half where you lure Nina away and have her being locked up in a cage. Which probably nobody ever understood because everybody only played Crash and they were like, oh, that's a cool boss where you run away from Nina. Kind of random, but okay, let's do that. And speaking of co-op, that's actually the run that was originally submitted. A co-op run for completing Crash Fusion 105%, which would have entailed one player playing through Crash Fusion, getting all the collectibles, and one player playing through Spyro Fusion. And the Spyro player only has to get those cards which the Crash player cannot get, as in most of the Spyro cards. But there are no requirements on like on percentage or anything. It's just about completing the Crash run, which shaves another, let's say, like 10 minutes and a lot of RNG from this run. A lot of these shops where you gamble for cards, because in those shops they're only Crash cards, you can just skip them because the Crash player is getting the Crash cards himself by default. It doesn't even have to do anything; it just happens. However, sadly, my co-partner for private reasons was not able to attend, so as a replacement, for whatever reason, I decided to show off just this side of the run with some extra cards. But yeah. You know how sometimes you make decisions you later regret? It's kind of a random thought. Anyway.
No idea what you're talking about.
Anyway. So in a second we'll pass right here. We'll pass the World 4-1 shop, which again we would have to purchase 8 trading cards. But as you see right now, we have way too little gems to purchase anything. We would need, I think, 400. We're not even close, so that's why we have to do it on the backtrack. However, that doesn't stop us from well, of course, collecting all the unique overworld gems and getting the world card. This one will break next. In that level right now, you may have wondered, why is it so laggy? Like, it looks like it's running at 10 FPS, and it's true, it is. The reason for that is, I don't have to understand it, I just know that that's the case. The reason is that the animation of the background, in that case it was the water, I think, the water from the river flowing between the Ripdogs and me. That one, for whatever reason, takes up so much of the game's resources that the FPS dropped notably. And the reason I know that is that this minigame will reoccur in World 5, where the background is just space, no animation, nothing, and there it runs smoothly every time. But for all other instances, whether there's a river, like a water river, or a river of lava, anything in between that like does this wobble animation, the game just breaks down, like heavily breathing, it's like, I can't do that, please stop playing me. Yeah. Then this minigame is almost over. You may wonder, have I memorized all these level layouts? And the answer is of course no. Whenever I play these levels, my brain goes very much in autopilot, which I would say is something between coping and survival mechanism. But so the only thing I consciously pay attention to is like some cues as to like the end of the level, how the end of the level looks. No, like, the portal is coming up soon, I should get to that. Oops. No, actually this time... Yes. So this is a special limbo warp. Not that you know what a limbo warp is, but this is the one time we don't use this only to warp, but we also collect gems. This will make more sense once I explain what limbo is. Just for now, take note that we did that, and that that's possible, and that has implications in the real overworld, in quotation marks. But for now, we're doing a little more pinball. I explained earlier that the second and third pass, at least for almost all minigames, not all of them, but almost all of them, results in a higher difficulty. So in these pinball minigames on the second and third playthrough, the minigame becomes more difficult by the balls just speeding up. So right now the pinballs are very slow, and second pass they become a little faster, and then third they are really fast. Or for the like a lot of the auto scrollers, what changes is the environment. Like you need more hits to destroy enemies, or like the not the level layout, but where enemies are and objects are placed changes completely. So that can happen, or that does happen. And as I said, we'll see that in the fifth world, where we have to play through everything 3 times, and there you may or may not notice the difference. There's another interesting piece of trivia, as in that on the higher difficulties, as I said, or as I kind of hinted at, the level layout stays the same every time. So it's like in this level, when I go from left to right, it's always the level looks the same, with one exception. With one exception, the first tank minigame on the third playthrough, the level flips horizontally. I have no idea why, and it's the only level where the layout changes. So, as I said, it's a.
As you said, it could be worse.
It could be worse.
Yes.
Yeah, it is a can of worms, but it could be real worms, but it's just sour worms. Where you eat it, you're like, I don't feel so good. But at least it's not real worms. So, always look on the bright side of life. Oh, only 1 more hour.
Depends on how Gem Hop will go, I guess.
That's true.
Yes.
Although I don't know what Gem Hop even is. I haven't seen it yet, but you're right, of course. Right, so as for the level layout, something which you should see in like 5 or 10 seconds, I think, is that the developer's understanding of difficult... Oh no, that we passed that already. I'll say it anyway.
I'm gonna dump on the developers.
I don't care. So the idea the devs had of difficulty in these auto scrollers is that some of the passages you have to know the level layout in order to advance. So some of these layouts you have to go from left, like the far left to the far right. And if you don't know it in advance, you'll just bonk and fall behind the camera and die. So for some reason they thought, yeah, that's a fair game mechanic, which will bring a lot of joy to the players. Okay, I mean, whatever floats your boat. And now we get to the barrier. So it's not really a barrier, it's this portal we normally would have to open by playing everything 3 times, as I said many times. However, and I'll actually take some time to explain this, because I think this is really cool, and I won't get world record anyway. So usually there's a story mode and the party mode. In the party mode you can just replay all the minigames you've played already. So maybe I should, like this one, you would select this and then we could play this again. However, for whatever reason, if you switch the tab to get to the minigames from another world and then mash A, you load into the world, but it's not the real world, but it's a copy. That's why we call it Limbo. And so right here, in the limbo, we changed our checkpoint from the first portal of the world to the last portal of the world. And for some reason, that translates to the story mode, because now we went from the first portal to the last portal of the world, thus bypassing the barrier completely. So you may understand at this point how this was kind of a big deal when this was found. So this game went from, oh no, why do I have to play this in order for the co-op run to work, to, oh, that's actually bearable. You know, fun is a strong word, but I think bearable is neutral enough to not be wrong. And yeah, as I said, this tech, the limbo warping, can be used to change checkpoints within the same world. So what you cannot do is go from World 1 to World 4. Whatever you do in Limbo, whatever checkpoint you get, you will, if you start in World 1 in the story mode, you will stay in World 1. But because of how this barrier works, we can use this tech to skip it. And the way it works, I should maybe explain that as well, is that World 5 in Crash and Spyro, the worlds are the same, the orders just changed. World 5 only consists of one half. So between, or in all the other worlds, 1 through 4, there was a first half and a second half. And in between those, there was a small mini-game, non-portal mini-game. And for the fifth world, there's only one half. There's only this hub, which I'm in right now. Also, yes, that ball did go through the orange enemy. Maybe this game is... Oh my god, the engine is not made for the ball going fast. Anyway, World 5. So, World 5.1 game internally is... World 5.1 game internally is that barrier room that's handled as the first half of World 5. And the thing I'm in right now, that's the second half. So by using the Limbo Warp, by changing my checkpoint to the end portal, we go from the first half, before the barrier, to the second half, after the barrier, thus bypassing the requirement in order to get here, like the game-intended requirement. And just to give you an idea how much this saves, before we found this, the any percent run was 1 hour 20 minutes, and right now it's, I think, 34 minutes. So it's a non-zero amount of time, if you want to stay neutral. So this right here was another mini warp, where I have to go to the left side of the world, so faster than walking is to just to warp to the start. Anyway, how are you doing?
I'm anticipating my big moment soon.
Oh, I see. If by soon you mean in like 10 minutes.
Yes.
Sure.
Because since we're in World 5, we have to play minigames 3 times, just as a reminder.
Exactly. But luckily, also as a reminder, the 5 minigames in this world are the least boring ones. So this one is very fast one. The next one is the one where you break the platforms under the opposing grip dogs. It's also very fast. Pinball at least has some interactivity to it. And a similar story for the other two. We'll see. Also, while these ripdogs move very fast, how does that come about? Is it maybe that there's no animation in the background? Worth a thought, isn't it? And another one. There are also a lot of funny stories from the early games, from the early early times of this run. So when we first explored this game, that's what I wanted to say. As in this bridge mini game, which I just played on the higher difficulties, is prone to breaking in the sense that, for example, some tiles that you break, like some tiles from the other side that you break, just only the texture disappears, but the collision is still there. Or something funny that also happened to CD-Romatron at one point is that the enemy, the Riptok, just walked off screen and never came back. So if it wasn't for the level exit prompt through the menu, he would have been soft locked. That has only happened, I think, once or twice. We don't have any idea why. And you know, some secrets are maybe should stay secrets. There's no
Best
need.
left untouched.
Yeah, basically. There's no need to know everything about this game.
Also, this level fills me with pain.
Oh, why is that?
I wonder.
Explain or?
Yeah. No.
Okay. So you may notice that this portal I'm going into looks different from the other ones, and the reason is that this is not one of the mini games which you need in order to unlock the boss. However, this is one of the bonus mini games, which, as you may also have noticed, increases my gem counter quite significantly. So you have to pay 100 gems to play this mini game. And once you complete it, you get 200 gems, which, given the length, it's just 13 seconds long. It's a very good ratio of time to gems. And that's why we use it to stock up on some gems before we get to the World 5 shop, and also later shops. When we need gems, this is the place where we go. Due to all the warping tech we have, it's incredibly fast to go from A to B and back once all the worlds are unlocked. And train of thought. There it goes. Choo-choo. Gone. I'm sure it's nothing important.
Well, maybe I can help you by talking a little about incentives while you think more about what you wanted to say.
Absolutely.
All right. Later tonight, upcoming, we have the Ukulele and the Impossible Air Run. And yeah, we have a bit wall for that run where you can choose the soundtrack. We can either play with the normal soundtrack or the 8-bit soundtrack for all the retro fans in here. And yeah, currently they're both at $0, so there's still that is still anyone's game.
Easy sweep.
After that, there is the Digimon World 3 run, where you can choose the starter that Deza will use, and that is between Mamon, Kumamon, and Kotamon. Currently, Kotamon is in the lead with $20, but there's still some time for that, so that is also still anyone's game. So, yeah. Get your donations in.
Yes. Right, so this is the first time, I think, the first time we see an auto-scroller on a higher difficulty. As you see here, one of the more obvious changes is that every object now needs 2 hits in order to get destroyed. It may not look like it, because even if I spam, it's not as noticeable here. It will be more noticeable in the third pass. It looks like I'm hitting it more than 2 times sometimes before it's getting destroyed. And the reason is that it's not just me who has iframes once I'm getting hit, but also everything else. So
it's just fair, honestly. So.
Yeah. I mean, why have an advantage if they outnumber me 100 to 1? So yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. Yes. And also here's the other thing I was talking about, the developers or level designers' idea of difficulty, this like left, right, zigzag kind of thing, which if you don't know, there's no shot. You will die. And that's something that happens in every single world. In every world there's at least one minigame which does this. The only difference, or the only thing that changes, is that the number of zigzags, like of number of turns, increases from 2 to gradually to 4 right here. Okay, so maybe here I can get there. I clearly hit it way more than 3 times. But like whenever the obstacle is glowing white, then it has iframes. To be fair, my iframes are way longer than one of the enemy's objects. So after I get hit, I think it's like 1 or 1.5 seconds. That was fair. 1 or 1.5 seconds of iframes, and for obstacles it's like a few frames. But it's enough to make it difficult, maybe annoying, kind of depends on your point of view. However, for every level, every minigame, I have 4 hit points. So for those who are familiar with the world of Spyro, that's just what Sparks does. It provides you with additional hit points before you die. That's displayed in the top left corner. So I start with a yellow Spyro or with a yellow or Sparks, yeah, yellow or golden Sparks. Then it's blue. Now it's green. Feels Green Man, and then there's one final one where Sparks only consists of eyes. And when I get hit at that point, then I just die. So even if I get hit once or twice, it's usually not a big deal. For some of the more difficult levels, it's good to be aware of where are the difficult portions of the level, where should I have some hits left for safety and so on. But and this level right here, Skywalker's probably the biggest instance of that. But for most of them, you can certainly at a certain level of play, you can just not care. You can shut off your brain, like no thoughts, head empty, and just let it happen. Now, for this minigame right here, this is the second and final instance of the magnet suit. And the way this becomes more difficult is not speed or anything, but it's the not level layout, but the number of enemies that spawn and the place they spawn in. So right now in the first pass there are no enemies here, and they cannot ever be. But on the second and third pass, increasingly more enemies spawn here. So the first pass is really easy. You don't have to know the level at all, especially because it's scrolling so slowly. However, especially for the second pass, once you master the second pass, the third one is relatively simple. But the second pass is what is disproportionately difficult, as in basically every new runner struggles with the second pass of Skywalker. And like, just if you're just watching the level, it's not really clear why. It doesn't change that much. It's just a few more enemies. But what does change is that some enemies are placed in a more, on the one hand, in a more mean spot, as in if you don't know that they're there, they're very likely to hit you before you even spot them. And yes. And on the other hand, things become a lot easier once you know that you can manipulate enemy spawns, not only through the camera itself, but also through hitting triggers early. So the way enemies spawn, or most of them spawn, like the ones that move from left to right, those spawn whenever you hit a certain trigger, like a certain location in the level, and that will become very clear later on, or very, very evident. Also, oh no, I got squashed. Oh wait. But if you don't know that, you're thinking, okay, let's stay to the left as far as possible, so I see everything that's coming. Then you're hitting the trigger late, and then there's no way to avoid an enemy anymore. That's something that's very prominent on the second on the second pass here. Just to name one example. But once you know where all the triggers, or at least all the main triggers are, it's not that big a deal anymore. Okay, I have blue sparks, that's perfect run. So there's one right here, close to the edge. That's where that enemy up there spawns. That down there is where that enemy spawns. And so on and so forth. But as I said, if you don't know that, and you're just tanking on the left of the screen because like, oh, I already took 2 hits, I really want to go safe now, and that's paradoxically, maybe that's the reason why it's so difficult. Paradoxically, that's the wrong thing to do. But well, that's the choice they made. That's, they sat together in the conference room in 2004 and thought, Yeah, that's good level design. That's that's a level that feels very rewarding to complete to this 9-year-old kid. Sure, I mean, some opinions are wrong, but that's that's not my place to judge here. Right, third pass. For the third pass, the reason it feels easier to play is that the level layout is very laid out. There's very little leeway to what to do. As in every or almost every rocket, assuming you don't use any skips, basically every rocket you have to shoot at a certain enemy. And this kind of variation is what also makes the second pass so difficult, where that's not as clear, like not at all. So you're very much struggling to figure out what to do even, and once you get a feeling for anything, you're dead already. It's over. Okay, however, it looks very good right now. I have one hit, well, 2 hits. I can get hit once, and then only afterwards I would die. And the level is almost over. So that's a successful first pass of Skywalker, which is pretty good. He said, and then no, I didn't. No. She baited. Okay, so now we're getting to the actual gacha portion of the game. So right now I'll be collecting cards, Firefly for example, and my good friend Kadarif will cross it off the list in case I forget which cards I already got. Lava Pool, I don't need that one
Correct.
I have already. That's the Crash Crate. I think I wrote just Crash on my notes.
That's also correct.
That's Freeze. Crash again, it's a dupe. Firefly. That's orange, I don't need that. Here I can focus on the gems, because playing this minigame is very expensive. So every chance you have at getting some gems out of this, Nasty Nork, is an opportunity you should take. Slot box, okay. Cool, that was the first pass. So as you saw right now, we don't have enough gems to do another playthrough of the level, of the shop. I didn't do the strat. Doesn't matter. However, from beating the boss, we get 100 gems, and that will allow us to also enter the minigame again, where we farm gems, basically. Also, small skip here after the final boss. It's faster to soft reset the console in order to skip the credits, which saves, like, I don't know, like 2 minutes or something. Casual time save. Okay, so bit more Portal Rush. Is this world record? 669.
Tied.
Tied world record. Yeah, actually, maybe I should talk about this. This is another one of these mysteries this game has to offer. So there's very little variation in the movement. Like, there's no faster movement. Basically, all movements are the same speed. So it doesn't matter whether you like run, jump, flutter, anything. By normal quote-unquote means, the fastest you can get in this level are 666 on the timer. However, there's something very peculiar about how the jump works. So 4 frames after you land, you can jump. Then the 5th frame, I believe it was, you cannot jump, like pressing A doesn't do anything, and then after that you can jump normally. And for whatever reason, if the only jumps you do in a playthrough of, for example, this minigame right here, if the only jumps you do are those early jumps, those 4-frame jumps, before you can not jump for 1 frame. If you only do those jumps, you can get 669 on the final timer. It doesn't matter how many of those jumps you do. You can do 1, you can do 5, doesn't matter. The time will always be 669. If you do 1 normal jump, so 1 jump after these 4 frames, you will get 668, and then 2 jumps, or like anything over that, you will get 666. It doesn't make like any sense to me. So if anybody from Vicarious Visions is watching who worked on this, feel free to get in touch. This is something I would really love to figure out, and I promise I will not bring a boxing glove to our meetup. Low-key threat, but okay.
Not very low-key.
High key. Very, it's like here, this is the threat.
So just to keep you up to date, you need 1 more blue card, 1 more green card. You have not had any yellows yet, and 2 more crash cards.
Right, okay. So green should be Grandor is what I meant.
Correct.
Yeah. No?
So not that one.
There
That
we
looks
go.
better.
So now I have the 2 green two green Spyro cards that are available in this shop, in this particular shop, which means that I can now focus on getting the gems, so I don't run out of gems. Because that's something I wanted to explain earlier, but then my brain froze. The amount of gems you can have in this game is capped at 999, whereas in Crash Fusion, for whatever reason, the cap for the Wampa fruits, that's the equivalent of the gems there, is not 999 slot I have already, I think,
Correct.
but 9,999, which is a bit more. And that I found. I have all the blue
Blue is
ones.
also blue.
Yeah, cool.
Blue is blue. Blue is also complete.
And so basically, if I don't get any gems, I can play this minigame 9 times. That's when I go below 100 gems, below the amount of gems I need in order to play this game. So every type of card I've completed is very good for me in the sense that I don't have to like crash. I have already, I think. Oh, yellow. This is important. 3. That's a bad one. So maybe actually, Kelly, if you want, you can explain what's the deal with the yellow cards and why I was angry that I got Spyro Post 3.
So yellow cards you can also obtain via completing certain minigames 3 times, I think, right?
Yes.
And
Exclamation mark?
Yep. Okay. And yeah, so you have 5 different yellow cards there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you kind of want to get the 1, 2, and 5 because those really save you a lot of time. If you get those, 3 and 4 only save like 30 seconds at a time or so. So
Yeah.
ideally, you would not want to have 3 and 4 first. You want to have 1, 2, or 5.
Exactly, yeah. So I'll also talk about that a bit more once we get there, like once we get to those levels, which we could skip if we get the card. The idea is that, or the like how the game worked so far was that the steel. That's all. Yeah. So only need the
Yellow.
Yeah. Well, I don't need them, but
Well,
I want them.
You
Yeah. So right now I have less than 100 gems, which means that I cannot play the mini game I usually play for gem farming. So first I have to get to above 100. The fastest way is to play Tech Tug, which, as I said, after the 3rd pass you always get 30 gems. Now, okay, to get back to the cards to finish that explanation, the yellow cards. So the pattern so far was that the cards you get on the 3rd pass, like the 3rd playthrough of a level, you can then purchase in the shop of the next world. So the cards I would get from World 4, the jungle world I was in previously, I usually would be able to purchase in the shop in World 5.1. However, there is no shop in World 5.1. World 5.1 is the barrier, which we skipped with the Limbo Warp. So those cards are now in World 5.2. Sadly, The shop in the second half of each world is one of the of gambling type. So in the first half it's always purchase, second half is always gamble. And well, of course, every level corresponds to one card you get after the third playthrough. Conveniently, in this case, it's the cards are called Spyro Pose 1, Spyro Pose 2, 3, 4, 5, and they actually correspond to level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that order in the fourth world, in the jungle world. So it's very easy to keep track of. Okay, in this case, I got the Spyro Pose 3 card in the shop, which means that I can skip playing the third level another 2 times during the backtrack. However, as Caddy also said, some of the levels are longer than others. So unsurprisingly, I'd rather get the card that corresponds to this very slow tank auto-scroll minigame, and not Spyro Pose 3, which corresponds to that bridge minigame where you have to throw molotovs to kick the Riptogs off the bridge. However, because some of the levels take so long, it's actually worth to stay in this shop a bit longer to try to get more yellow cards. So the perfect RTA run would, while getting all the cards we need anyway, would get like cards 1, 2, and 5. So it's a very fast pass, and the cards 1, 2, 5, or correspondingly the levels 1 to 5 are the longest ones in World 4. So it's the most time save and no time loss because we got the cards anyway. That would be the ideal scenario. Usually what happens is that because the yellow cards are rarer, so they're also more sparse in these shops, you stay in these shops a bit longer, like a few minutes. A good time would be like 1 to 3 more minutes. And if you get, like, let's say, card 1 and 5 or 2 and 5 or whatever, you will save like 7 minutes in World 4. So net it's a very significant gain. But the downside is, of course, that it's very RNG heavy. So your attempts are at the mercy of the game's randomness, which is a whole other rabbit hole I could go into. That the RNG system in this game makes no sense and is fundamentally different from how randomness works in Crash Fusion. Again, I don't know why. Maybe it was 2 developer teams, like one sub-team of Vicarious Visions who worked on Crash and one on Spyro, and they just didn't talk with each other, which would be interesting. Or maybe it was just one team and they thought, hey, let's do something funny. Honestly, like, unironically, either of these things could be true. I cannot tell you which is the more likely scenario. I just know that this is the effect of it. RNG works fundamentally different, and so on and so forth.
Yellow cards.
Yellow cards.
Where are they?
Where are they? That's a fantastic question. I ask myself the same thing. So maybe I should also explain that the color of the card corresponds to the rarity, not in the sense of how much it spawns, at least not necessarily, but the game... there we go. The game ranks the cards by like rare, very rare, and so on. One is okay. I'll play a bit more, maybe I'll get 5. 2 or 5 would be good. If I get 4, that's... it's alright. No. So for example, at least in my experience, there's no difference between blue, which is the least rare, and green, which is the second least rare, in terms of how often they spawn. That's orange, that's not yellow. I don't need that one. However, the yellow ones, especially in this shop, this is the only shop where you can gamble for yellow cards, I believe. Because all the other shops are exclusively Crash cards, and you can only get the blue ones. Anyway, in this shop, the yellow cards and the orange cards are significantly rarer than all the other cards, which for yellow it does make sense. It's it's rarer than blue or green, shouldn't appear as often. But then for orange, which on the one hand is the second rarest, the only one that's more rare is red. But also the orange cards, like this one right here, we already have them. We got them in World 1 for the first playthrough of the first 5 minigames. So that makes you wonder whether they took the concept of rarity of these cards that seriously. But alas, I'm not here to judge, I'm here to gamble. And I think I'll try for like 2-3 more minutes. If I don't get it, that's okay. But it's just so much fun to listen to the first 5 seconds of this song. Which you may or may not believe me, but this song is actually decently good. But sadly, every time you start the minigame, it starts from the beginning. So the only thing you hear is this bongo part. Like, percussion is going hard, but that's it. Like, no bass, no nothing. Also, maybe another thing about the gems in these shops, and that's maybe something you also notice in the other shops, like in the one with the spinning wheel, for example, is that the amount of gems you can get varies, and it also correlates with the amount of gems you have to pay in order to play the game. So in the first spinning wheel shop, it cost 10 gems to play the game. You could get out like something between like 7, 8, and up to 19, I believe. Cool, that's orange. And now in this shop right here, I consistently see I get like 83, 127. And it can be, in theory, it can be any number between 50 and 199. So, assuming uniform distribution, on average, you get 125 gems back, which is more than you pay. So if you just do this, one of the nice side effects while you wait for yellow cards is that you stack up on gems automatically. Because on average, law of large numbers, you will have a net gain, basically. And it's also a fun mini game. There's something, the 199, that was the max. That's also something somewhat interesting about this mini game, or something regarding how I play this mini game in a sense. In that when I first, yellow. Wait, this is important. 2 is okay. 2 is all right. I'll take that.
So 4 and 5, you need to.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll do 5 first, and maybe continue with whatever I explained after I play a bit more for the shop. What was I explaining before yellow came
How you
up?
play the 3-cup game.
Yes, exactly. Also clear gem. That one I have to remember. Clear gem. So this vase shuffle shop thing. What I did at the beginning was to follow with my eyes like where the important vase is, Wampa fruit. And now what I do is I just look at the screen. Like I don't focus on anything in particular. And for some reason my brain automatically keeps track of where the vase is. Could be another coping strategy, like survival mechanism, I don't know. I just know that it works. It's also a lot less stressful on the eyes and the brain. I can just sit there and like, okay, it's this way. Checkpoint, I think that's only crystal missing, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I could also dive into how the how randomness plays a role in this shop, and why I don't always get or whether it's possible to always get the card if I wanted to, but I don't think that's necessary. Also because there's so much to explain if you really want to go in depth. I think actually a surprising amount of tech that goes into this run, given it's a minigame collection, and it's the worst of the 2 minigame collections. Like Crash Fusion, also minigame collection, a lot more fun. Everybody who played Crash Fusion and maybe had a look at Spyro Fusion will tell you exactly that, because it's true. Which makes you wonder even more why I'm running this now, not Crash Fusion. But that's in the past, It's gotta live with the consequences now. crystal, right? Yes, exactly. Like, for example, there's also something special to these spinning wheel mini shops where, at least in Spyro, you have a. If you land on a card field and you don't have every card of that stack yet of the cards you can get in that shop, you're very likely to get the missing card, and not like in the vase shuffle shop where you can get a lot of duplicates. And actually, in Crash Fusion, that's a lot more rigorous. There are actually stacks, without going into too much detail, but there are stacks when you get a card from those, you will, without failure, get one of the cards you do not have yet, which takes out a lot of RNG from the run, is very runner-friendly. As I said, Spyro Fusion somewhat does this. You can get some duplicates in the spinning wheel shops. Sometimes more, sometimes less. Another difference that, just from a developer point of view, why did they change that? They increase the amount of work they have to do for something nobody will ever care about. So the logical conclusion would be that yes, it was two different subdivisions of Vicarious Visions who developed this. Like this, I don't see how else this could work. At least no explanation that does involve drugs that are harder than alcohol or weed, but whole other tangent, whole other rant I could follow up on. Okay. And that's like that. Yeah, so here, for example, I noticed like this is the pattern of the end of the level. It should be like there. Yeah. And now another instance of the iframes of the objects, of the obstacles. Especially for these moving enemies, this can be very tricky. There, for example. But also here, if I mash, like this one clearly took 5 hits. Or not 5 hits, it took 5 bullets, but 3 hits only. So, yeah. Somebody consciously went through the effort of programming iframes for obstacles, because I guess they thought, no, it would be too easy otherwise. This game would be it would be too boring to use that adjective. So let's make it a bit more fun.
And that fixed it.
I would say so.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. That was another, when we first figured out this game, was another very interesting thing, as we didn't know how many hit points each of the things had, precisely because of this effect. We were like, we're mashing and didn't die, like what's going on? Till we figured out, oh no, these things have iframes. It's 3 hits, but it's just iframes. Cool. Also, nice obstacle here. If you stay in the middle, you die. Like there it's very visible. It's like very easy to avoid. But in one of the other auto-scrollers in World 4, sadly we'll not revisit that one because we got Spyro Post 2, so we can skip that level. But if we would play it again, we would see that there's an obstacle similar to that, where if you stay in the middle path, at some point you'll just there's just a wall in front of you and you can't progress and you die. No hint anything. You just you chose wrong. And as we all know, pick a path is a great game mechanic which you should absolutely incorporate in your game. Oh, that's not lag. That's no, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay. So now we're coming to this thing. It's called Gem Hop, and it's I mean, it's a level per definition. It's also an experience. And maybe while I try to focus for a bit, Kat, if you want, you may take over.
I'm not sure that will help with your focus, but yeah, so the goal of this level, or the end game trigger, is that you have to collect 100 gems.
Which the game doesn't tell you, by the way. It just says collect as many gems as you can. Okay.
Yeah, so you do that. You can see the gems are always above these platforms. And the platforms right now are rather spacious. However, after you collect the first 50 gems, the platforms will only consist of one of these tiles instead of two, so they will shrink to half their size. And as you can see, as soon as you jump off a platform, it drops down, which in itself is cool, but sometimes you also like
Cool.
you touch two platforms accidentally and both of them drop, and obviously then it turns out that no of these platforms come in from the side, so you just fall down, and whenever you fall down you start all the way over, so there are no checkpoints. Yeah, and the quote-unquote safe strategy is to kind of try to stay at the top of the level and not flutter around too much from side to side. Just let yourself get carried to the side, wait for a new platform to be visible, and then drop down onto it. But yeah, sometimes even that doesn't help. And there we go now, so we're at the halfway point now. Good luck.
Thank you. Hello, can I get a platform? That's cool, thank you. Before you ask, yes, these platforms spawn at random, which is fair and necessary. And as Caddy said, the safest thing you can do, especially in the second half, is to not move. Just jump. So there's a platform below you or above you, you just jump. Move as little as possible, because these platforms are janky, to say the least. Which is the sole reason why this is so difficult or nerve-wracking. Way more than it looks, can assure you that. I'm very nervous right now. So I have no idea how many more. So just... Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's handy.
First try, that's very good. It's not exceptionally rare, but as you may guess, dying during the second half of a gem hop is very time costly. Like, it takes a lot of time to get back to get the first 50 gems. I think each pass is like 3-ish minutes, plus minus a bit depending on how risky you play. So yeah, dying at the end, like at gem 99, which of course has never happened before, is very bad. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's
word,
yeah. One may even say not good.
Ungood.
Yeah, also that. I too speak the English. Okay, so this is the last regular level we have to play. After that, it's only shops and some of these sheep mini games, like the one where I just run away from some white sheep.
Is there any way to check about that one card you weren't sure about, whether you got it or not? The world card?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end, when it says 119.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yes. Okay.
No, sadly I don't remember which card I should have. But if one of them is missing, I'll be pretty certain it's that one. There is, should we need it, I'll tell you right now. There is a website also linked on a website, yeah, on the leaderboard. It's I think it's like darkspyro.net or something. That one walkthrough site I told you about, where it lists every card and where you would normally get it. So, okay, I apparently did not catch those balls. So just so you've heard that that's a thing, oh my god, that exists. But I do have a feeling I don't need it. He said with false confidence. Get in bit. Oh my god. Oh yeah. Whatever, dude. Kind of interesting. The pinball isn't going as fast, yet the game very clearly cannot handle it. Like everything is on fire. This cartridge. One more. Woohoo. Okay. Now I can... Actually, how many gems do I have? Okay. I can, at the very least, do the shop here. So in this, like this level, for example, and the other two in the first half of this world, I can skip all of those because I have the corresponding cards from the shop in World 5. Right here, I have to buy 8 cards. One of them being the one I would get for all the gems in World 2, the second half of World 2. That should be 7. That should be 7. That should be 7. That should be 7. I'm a broken record. Oh, there's another card. That's cool. Okay. No, actually, I'll actually play it safe. Because there's another quite expensive shop coming up, so I will stock up on gems right now. Usually in a run you wouldn't do that. You just hope that you get good RNG. But I'd rather not, honestly. And I do have the time for doing that, so... Any warp, yes, okay. I also think this was a very nice example of seeing how useful and how also how versatile all these different many warps are, just to get from A to B. And like I just was in the first half of World 4, and I'm now in the I spawned at the end of at the end of World 5, which usually would take you like a minute of walking, 45 seconds a minute, and like this it's 5 seconds. Boom, you're there. Cat Jam. I think I'll stock up to a bit above 800. I still get some gems in the second half of World 3, which are close to the sheep minigame there. Oh yeah, that's something I haven't even explained yet. What are these sheep minigames, and why didn't I play them on the first pass? So, or also gem up, why did I only play it after the whole RNG thing, if it's so difficult? Just from a logical point of view, would make sense to get the more difficult things out of the way earlier. However, the requirement to unlock gem hop, for whatever reason, is that you have to get the, I think also that portal spawned in time. I believe it's the card Nasty Nork, one of the green cards from the World 5 shop. Only after you get that one, Gem Hop appears. Naturally, the game doesn't tell you that that's the requirement, and for the longest time we were wondering, why is Gem Hop there sometimes and sometimes not? And the answer was just that. It's that one random card.
That you can only get in that shop.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, yeah, of course.
So I think one way to put it is that this game is very player unfriendly in the sense that it does a lot of things, but it tells you about none of them. And like Gem Hop, perfect example. 100 gems, like you need 100 gems in one sitting to get a card. Neither does the game tell you that you get a card from that, nor why the level spawns, nor how many gems you even need. It's just, yeah, just collect them, good luck. You can do it. So
You
big.
can also put a positive spin on it and says it encourages exploration or something like that.
That's an opinion one can have. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Okay, so then there's 2 shops left and 2 of these sheep level. The sheep level only unlock. That's what I forgot to say. That. The sheep level only unlock after you beat Gem Hop. So through that acquiring that random card, you like Gem Hop unlocks Time Crate. Just remember that. Time Crate. Remember that. You complete Gem Hop, then 5 of these sheep levels, no, 4 Aku Aku Box. 4 of these sheep levels spawn, and once you complete those, assuming you got everything from the shops, not the switch, I think only Iron Box is missing. Only then do you get all the cards. So behind every sheep minigame, there's also cards which you cannot obtain otherwise. That's actually very good RNG.
So you just had to pick a random vase in that shop, technically. Which is that why
Yeah.
you always pick the first one? Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's as fast as, and I have no information to go off. So,
Very good.
speaking of gambling, like at least for the other mini games, there was some clue,
Yes,
you know,
yeah,
where it's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah, pick a vase, maybe you win something. Good luck, you know. I begin to sense a pattern as to how this game treats me as a player. Okay, second to last level. There's some cool tech you can do here, where you can use your flame breath and kind of clip into the sheep and get 2 gems at a time, but the risk is that you can also fall through the sheep and die, and then you lose all your progress. So that's something that can happen. So another vase shuffle here. We need 4 blue crash cards with names eerily similar to the ones in the previous shop. Like it's also Aku Aku. There's also a Nitro, I think Nitro Switch box. But I can assure you these are different cards. Mystery. I think there should be Nitro Switch missing. Also, this one's only 25 gems, so if I don't get the cards, because they're only blue crash cards, I cannot go after the gems here. So I always have to. Oh, Iron Box. Okay, was it Iron Box? I didn't have Iron Box yet, right?
I thought you... Did you say Nitro was in? I don't know.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, I can just check real quick. In this crash portion, I should have Mystery, Iron, Spring. Oh, then there should be one missing. I think we'll just play a bit more. You know, it's a fun little experience here. Aku Aku, was it that one? Oh yeah, it was that one. Cool. Anyway. Okay, and the last level is actually coming up. Assuming I didn't miss anything, this would be time. So I will press the button, hoping that on the main, like on the title screen, will say 120 cards. And if it doesn't, well, gotta embrace your failure, I guess. Because of them playing this game here. Also, fun fact, I have not once looked at chat. Not because chat is smelly, which it may or may not be, but rather because I was so focused. Oh, it's one. No, I missed one. Fuck. Okay, which one is it? Which one is it?
Is it a world?
I still have... It's this one. I don't know which one that is. I would have to look it up. I will... Okay, the timer's still running. Tech was so kind as to make me play more of this. I got this one. I got this one. Oh my god. Now it's time. I missed this one. Fucking stupid. It's over.
In time.
Thank you very much. to the two of you for emotional support and literal support in some sense. This
Obviously.
was a co-op run. So
Well done.
thank you very much. I will now do something between cry, sleep, and break down. Thank you very much for everybody's support, for you watching, and next up is another cool run, I'm certain of. Take it away.
All right. Thank you very much, Toka, for this run. Coming up next is Linkemeister with Gods. This also marks the end of my hosting shift, so I'm just gonna throw over the host mic to Hapkananame.